Did you know that not every airport has a control tower? In air traffic control speak, we call that a non-towered airport or a uncontrolled field. Because the runways and the taxiways, the movement areas of the airport, are not controlled by an air traffic controller. Instead, aircraft that want to enter the air traffic control system on an instrument flight plan have to get a release from the overlying radar approach controller or the center controller. And that overlying controller has to follow certain non-radar rules to allow for the safe movement of aircraft. The unofficial term for those rules is one in, one out. One in, one out usually happens when ATC can only safely support one IFR operation at a time at or near an uncontrolled airport because procedural or non-radar separation is required. You can read all about that in the 7110.65, that's the Air Traffic Controller Handbook, Chapter 6, Non-Radar Separation. When would air traffic control use one in, one out? Well, if you're waiting to depart, but there's an IFR arrival on an instrument approach already. If you're waiting to arrive, but there's an IFR departure already released. Radar coverage is poor at low altitudes. ATC has not established communication with a departing aircraft yet. A pilot landing has not canceled their IFR after landing. Air traffic control is protecting for the approach, but they're also protecting for that missed approach as well, which increases the protection requirements. Flow restrictions or release windows limit departures, so if you get an edict or a ground delay program to an airport. But to sum it all up, separation cannot yet be established using radar, so we have to prove non-radar until we can prove radar. Look, air traffic control is not just giving you a release because we're lazy, we forgot about you, we're punishing you because you're a GA pilot, or we just don't want to release you. That's not what it is. Our hands are tied most of the time. There's a few scenarios about uncontrolled field airports. So you're here, you've requested your release, there's nobody inbound, there's nobody outbound, you're number one, and air traffic control releases you for departure. It would sound like November 123, release for departure. Now let's say I've already cleared an aircraft for an approach into this airport. You call up wanting your departure release. I'm unable to grant you the release because I have to protect for the approach path, but also the missed approach path for this aircraft. Some airports we can see the little radar blip all the way to the ground, but we're not talking to the airplane, he's on CTAF. And at other places you'll drop off the radar scope because you'll be below radar coverage. So we have to protect for the lowest common denominator, which is that non-radar. So if you call up for a clearance, that's when you may get a hold for release, or I can't give you that clearance yet, blah, blah, blah. There's some stipulations, but it's not until this arrival aircraft has canceled their IFR that I'm able to give you your departure clearance, because I don't know if they're still landing, I don't know if they've gone missed, I can't see them because I'm separating non-radar. Similarly, if there's an adjacent airport around 20 miles from where your airport is, I have to protect non-radar between both of those airports. So even though you're at this airport and this guy's landing at this airport, the missed approach procedure may encroach upon this departure path or something that I have to protect for this airport's arrival, so I cannot give you a clearance. 20 miles is like the non-radar standard. It may be a little different depending on the airports and whatnot. Situation in my airspace is like an arrival into Lake Charles on the mid where the approach control and the tower closes, and an arrival going into Chenault. I can't have two aircraft running simultaneous approaches to both of those airports because they're too close to each other. Similarly, if you're departing an airport that's a boundary airport, that's what we call it, which is basically the non-radar protection shelf. It goes into this adjacent sector. It's not just withheld within Sector A. I have to do coordination in order to get Sector B to give me this release. I'll show you what that looks like. So Sector A calls Sector B, says block 4,000 and below around Airport A for departures or for arrivals and approaches or whatever, and then Sector B has to approve it, and now Sector B is protecting non-radar 4,000 and below around this airport, and Sector A can then give you the clearance to depart, or the release for departure, or your clearance for the approach. Like our other example, if there's an airport here within Sector B, that airport is now closed because you can't depart. They're protecting for 4,000 feet and below for approaches and departures at this airport. And until Sector A calls and cancels this block, that airport's pretty tied up. But Prop Hat CAD, isn't one in, one out so inefficient because, it's one airplane waiting on an approach? Why can't I just blast off VFR and then pick up my IFR in the air? I mean, you can do that. That is in the realm of your possibility. But if you do that, don't get your clearance on the ground, get a hold for release, and then depart airborne on that code. Because if you do that, that really confuses us, and that makes it to where You know, are you IFR? Are you not IFR? You had a hold for release, so you're not. So you may think that you are IFR because you've got the beacon code and you just departed VFR, but now you're climbing into the clouds, you're screaming up to 17.5 at 4,000 feet a minute on a boundary. Now we have to do a lot of coordination whenever we were like, what are you doing? So all that to say, if you're going to depart VFR, just depart VFR and then pick up your IFR clearance outside of that airspace or with a next controller. Don't get your clearance on the ground, get mad that you can't depart now, and then just depart anyway. Like that doesn't help anything. The one in, one out rule is for safety. Like that is the crux of this. It's inefficient because it's safe. If I can't see the airplane that you are going to hit if I give you a release, I'm not going to give you the release. Leave your thoughts and comments down below and don't forget to follow for more.